So I was waiting a little bit before making this video for everything to kind of settle and slow down in development, because the day I'm recording this is the 23rd and everything kind of started happening around like the 17th, 18th, and every single day after it was like something crazy was coming out. So I had to do some research because I don't want to mislead anybody, of course, and I don't really care for Twitter drama like that because I think a lot of it is dumb, but I feel like this one is kind of important because it represents a smaller piece of a bigger picture that I have noticed in that whole like Poggers community of Twitch. Not even just in that community, but in the entire cult-like internet influencer space. So if you don't already know, a pretty massive League of Legends streamer by the name of Slicker was caught scamming his friends and his fans for upwards of over $300,000. This was done over the span of like 2 years, but even still, dude, Jesus Christ. He was able to do this by coming up with a nonsense excuse that sounded real to the people he was asking from. It made it seem like he needed it for something urgent, when in reality it was to fuel his gambling addiction. And don't get me wrong, I know that having an addiction to gambling is not easy at all, but that doesn't justify basically stealing money because he's not paying it back from your own people or just anybody. But that's just me stating the obvious. At the time of me making this video, the guy still isn't banned yet, and I think we kind of know why that's hypocritical on Twitch's end. This whole story completely blew up on social media and everybody was talking about it, but it created a division amongst the whole community because people were calling for gambling as a whole on Twitch to be banned, including the likes of Pokimane. And we all know if Pokimane says something that's like a criticism of Twitch, it's going to be changed, because about 2 days after, Twitch did exactly that, and gambling sites such as Stake, Rollbit, Duelbits, and Roobet have been banned off the platform. Don't really have an opinion on that because I'm not really into the whole gambling thing or really invested into it. I just find it kind of weird they chose now to ban it when they could have banned it like way before, when people were complaining about it a while ago, and it happens to be like in the heat of the moment they chose to take action on it. But Pokimane wasn't the only creator in that Poggers scene to call on Twitch to ban gambling. Miskiff also put out a similar tweet to Pokimane, and you know, in a scene like this, in the climate social media is currently in, you can be a creator and literally ride the bandwagon and just get crazy likes and basically just get clout from being virtuous and riding the bandwagon. Even if you personally disagree, you could put out a tweet completely contradicting what you actually believe, but as long as it follows like the current narrative, you're gonna get instant clout, especially on Twitter, because it's like people look at you like, oh my god, he's for us, like he's doing the right thing, he's such a good person. People just fall for it every time. It's the same thing politicians do. Now I'm not saying they put those tweets out for that reason exactly, but it does happen pretty often in like the whole creator space. And now we segue into the next thing, which gets a little bit complicated. And keep in mind, I'm not a news channel, so if you want like the entire gist of it, or at least a good summary, I recommend watching Boblax's videos because he actually goes over everything that happens bit by bit. But basically, Miskiff got aired out on the timeline because he was allegedly covering up a sexual assault by his friend and streamer Crazy Slick, which this happened like the day after Slicker got exposed for scamming. Let me say it like this, these allegations came out a while ago, but they got swept under the rug. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but apparently it was downplayed until people just stopped caring about it. But that doesn't mean everybody forgot. So it all came back up after Asmongold put out a tweet basically calling out Twitch for not being quick to ban Slicker, but leaving Gideon unbanned. Then Trainwreck responded saying because your pals decided it was in their best interest to use and platform the very person that scammed everyone for his horse racing and tennis bets to somehow twist it and wager their war against me. And we both know deep down why the insecure little man is doing this. And when he says pals, he means like his streamer friends like Miskiff. So Miskiff decided to insert himself in that thread, replying to Trainwreck's, and then all hell breaks loose. Trainwreck used that opportunity to bring up those allegations, which needed to be brought up eventually. So good on him for doing that, but man, did it open up a lot of rabbit holes. So this pretty much started a Twitch civil war. Nobody really knows the real answers like that. What I want to talk about is like the hypocrisy behind Miskiff and all the OTK people. So the girl that was allegedly sexually assaulted by Slick, her name is Adriana Lee, and she's another streamer on Twitch. She's a significantly smaller streamer than like Miskiff and all them. So she doesn't have the power and influence that Miskiff and his team has. When the allegations got brought up again, Miskiff went ghost. Besides the tweet longer that he put out, which didn't really answer anything, like we haven't seen that done by somebody else before. So in the meantime, there's just mad discussion about it until calls get leaked. So dude's having a panic attack or whatever because his friend's getting canceled, which I would sort of understand if y'all weren't the same people always trying to take a moral grandstand over everything. So that doesn't work because all it does is make you sound like a hypocrite. So Miskiff is getting pressed out in the call about him sending people over to Adriana's house after she's denied text messages, calls, and etc. They're really trying their hardest to reach out to her instead of just taking the hint. Because if your boy's in the wrong, then he's in the wrong. There's no need to send people to her house and what many people are saying to gaslight her. Miskiff is the same guy that was on Gideon's meet about the Pokimane drama to try to look good to that circle jerk of a community. But the moment that him or his team gets caught up for something, it's like, oh, what can we do to negate this? Because that's the thing, they don't want to hurt their bottom line. And instead of facing it head on, it's like we're just going to try to cover it up because they don't want that stain on their rep, but they just made it even worse for themselves by proving to everybody that they don't actually stand on their word. And that goes for like that entire scene that Miskiff is in. Everybody's a hypocrite, nobody's real, everybody's a snake, and everything has to have some sort of gain behind it. And Twitch doesn't care at all because they're making so much money off them. But everything is still coming out and I have no idea when it's actually going to end. But unless something strikes a nerve in me again, I don't really care. I just needed something to put out and this was like kind of interesting. I usually don't like covering developing drama because it's not fully fleshed out yet. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Like I don't really care about this that much at all. It's just I've noticed the hypocrisy from these influencers for a very long time. And this situation was the thing that showed it the most. And again, if you want the full lore of everything, I recommend Boblax, I recommend Destiny. Also recommend watching Moist critical. They cover literally all of it. And yeah, that's it for me.